This hand is in the small blind, and it's going to be a raise fold, raise call rather. I'm sorry. If you make the 5 a 6 or a 7, and we're suited to the jack, it's going to be a raise fold. But here I could have called a 3-bet. All right, I think this is interesting. I flop all the pairs. Very hard for someone to have. Let's see. Hard for them to have anything really. I'm unblocking spades. I'm unblocking king 10, 10 9, right? So I've got an ace. It's a little harder for them to have a quality wrap. But hands like ace king 10, I think are going to 3-bet a lot pre anyway. So I'm going to mostly check this because, balance and reasons. So I bet because imbalance and not reasons. I do think a check is fine. I mean, a bet has some merit, I think. And if I get raised, I might just go ahead and 3-bet. But I think I don't. I think I just call. I don't know. If anybody has any thoughts on this, let me know. I was talking about check raising. I think one of the things, I want to look right now at some equity, right? We're going to look at, like, let's say someone has king of spades, 10 of spades, random, those are random. Oh, that's interesting. Ooh, I like it. That's how that works. Okay, what if I just do this? Will it give random cards? No. Can I give random cards with just a star? Let's see. Star, star. No. Okay, whatever. Whatever. We're gonna just give them a flush draw and then some nonsense cards. And a straight flush draw, or a straight and a flush draw. And I think we're going to be close to flipping. Yeah, so we're close to flipping. If instead we give them, like, say, a 9, and then a random card. Now they're 60-40. So they don't even need this quality wrap, right? They can have, like, the 8 of spades. Oh, that's... Okay, I guess that's how we delete that. They're still a big favorite. So... not to mention the fact that my opponent can have sets. I don't think this is a great spot to just, like, get it in. As if we go back to the flop and we look at the SPR, it's like 16.5 to 1. So at a 16 plus, SPR, I don't think 3 pair is like, yeah, let's get it in. If we had a shorter SPR, fine. Let's, rip it and flip it. But here I get raised. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call, and then I'm going to maybe raise some turn cards. That wasn't one of them. If we go back, actually, and we don't do that, if we look at now our equity against some of those hands, okay, so of course, like King 10 has gotten a lot worse, right? King 10, 4, whatever. This is now 80% against us because we have 8 outs. We've got 4 pair. We have all the pairs. So this is like having an open-ended straight draw to a boat. It's a little weird, but I think it's a pretty funny thing. Hey, what's up, Family Jewels? Welcome. We're talking about Ace Queen Jack 5, which I bet called flop after raising first in. If I don't give them the nuts, let's make this like an 8 of spades. And this is basically, so on the flop, they were a favorite, right? And now on the turn they got 45. So I like my hand against a lot of their hands a lot better now. I still check, though, as King 10 just got there and made the nuts, and I don't really want to put in stacks against the nuts. I've got a 3.5 to 1 SPR now, so they bet and I call. And the river's a 9 of spades, which is like, everything got there, right? Spades got there, King 10 got there. I guess 10-9 didn't get there. And, I've still got Ace Queen. And they bet, and... I'm not blocking anything I want to be blocking, right? I've got 4 pair. Value bets, I feel like they shouldn't be value betting worse ever. And, I don't know. This just isn't very good. This is it's not a good bluff catcher, I think, right? So I folded. Basically just because I don't have any good blocker action. I guess 10-9, if they have 10-9 of hearts, and a queen 10-9, I don't even know. I'm having a hard time giving them a 4th card. It would just have to be some random card. So I was kind of remembering that I had called this, but that was fabricated. I apparently just folded. And I think, their bet size like makes me like, ah, but at the same time, I have to be good here 20% of the time, and I want a blocker. I want a king, a 10, a spade, just something. If I had the queen of spades here, maybe, but no blockers, no bueno. All right. Thoughts, of course, are always welcome on all of the hands. I am happy to reconsider what I'm thinking, to consider what anybody else is thinking, or to try to explain deeper, thoughts and questions and comments. Also, thank you to PLO Winner for the follow. It's always good to have more winners in PLO in the stream, not like at the tables. I want not winners at the tables. So I guess I'll just look this up. I feel this actually does feel like close. I think with a queen, yeah, we can raise any kings single suited with any Broadway card. So we'll say King Broadway X single suited is RFI in hijack. But this is going to be a fold to a 3-bet, right? And are we going to get 3-bet? No, we're going to get everybody calling. And I don't see much merit into c-betting here. It's just 4-way pot. And, it's a 4-way pot. And I have very little. I have an overpair, and that's it. And there's a bet and a call. Did I call this? Why did I call this? I guess I felt like folding kings was like just giving up. Basically, the bet sizing, I guess. It's third pot. Third pot on this board is kind of like, I don't know. I don't love my call, but at the same time, it feels like they made an annoying bet size. Like, if they knew this was my hand, this is pretty much the bet size to put in there. I can't really improve. There's not a lot of good cards, right? Like a queen, a 4, 3 are the cards that don't, pair the board or bring us straight. A king obviously would be fantastic. So we get a queen, which seems like a decent card, and they bet $4 again. And I don't really love the flop call, but like I don't love folding there. For $4, I'm gonna call this. Obviously, they're setting up a comfortable river shove, but it's $4, and I'm getting really ridiculous odds, and I have kings, and kings can be good. There's tons of draws. I'm not blocking a lot of the draws. The wraps I'm unblocking. The king of spades isn't the best card to have in my hand, unless the ace of spades comes in. But and here they bet, and I don't know. I just felt like what are you saying you have? Like, do you have a deuce? Like, did you do this with... It felt weird that they didn't go pot. And they had this. And I don't know. I can't fully explain, like, why I called. I just felt like if you have a real hand, don't you want to pot it? Or don't you want to make some smaller bet size that looks attractive? Like, if we just look at this bet size, like $20.06. Like, who does that? Why would you do that? What's the purpose of this? I don't know. I thought it was very odd. And they confused me into a call. And my hand was good. Because they flopped a gut shot and top pair. And, they did have the ace of spades. So if a spade came, maybe then they're going to do some kind of bluffy thing. They turned an open-ender, so I get their turn bet. Although $4 is kind of wonky. So, whatevs. We win the hand. So that was nice. Wasn't a whole lot of that going on yesterday. So... kings with a jack 10 and a suit. I raise. Very clear call. I don't even see really the point in looking it up. Here they bet, and the question is get it in or flat. I guess the merits for getting it in are hands like ace 4 5, clubs, like nut clubs with a pair or something, are probably going to call it off, whereas on a brick turn, maybe they're folding. I was thinking like sometimes I'm behind to like ace 4 5 with clubs, but I don't even think I'm that far behind. What do I think my equity is there? What was the other one? Yeah, so against that, I think I'm going to have... It's going to be pretty close to a flip. Ace 4 5. I have the 10. I think I might have like 48-49%. There's a small chance I'm a favorite, but... If we make their other card kind of useless. Ace 4 5 and like whatever. Which doesn't make sense as a hand. Yeah, okay, so I'm a slight favorite there. If I give them a 6, Let's suit it to the other thing. Now I'm still a slight favorite because that doesn't change which cards make a straight, right? It doesn't. It just makes it nuttier, which like who cares? So I guess like a 3. If we give them a 3, then it's going to be slight favorite for them if they also have a pair, right? So I mean, not that them potentially being ahead is a reason not to get the chips in. Mostly, I was thinking maybe there's more value in calling and then jamming turn on a good turn. But I did just jam and they just folded. So I don't know. Like with bare aces, maybe this is not ideal. I don't know. I think it's probably at least fine. Good morning, Buffy Bot. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're reviewing some hands in fairly rapid fashion. As always, any questions, any comments, any suggestions are welcome. I want to look up this as I think this is a spot where I mean, I imagine this is going to be a clear call, and if that's off, it's going to totally recalibrate my sense of like what to defend here. I mean, it's a call, but it's the bottom of range, right? So 4-4-6-3 single suited is call. Big blind versus wait, did I say big blind versus small blind? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Bottom. I guess 4-4-5 deuce single suited is also call, but 4-4-7-3 and 4-4-6-2 are folds. So that's just a little kind of okay. This is definitely a call, but it's not you know, well, whatever. Anyway, I flopped the nuts and they bet into me. And it feels to me like I mean, I can raise, but I kind of just want to let them keep putting chips in the pot. They're going to have a lot of overcards that are going to be kind of nothing-ish. Our stack to pot ratio is not all that deep either. It's like 4-1, 4.5-1 before the bet. So here it's only going to be 2-1 on the turn. So it feels like, yeah, I can let them keep betting. Now, here on the turn, did I jam? Yeah, and they just folded. I don't really like it. I mean, I think it's fine, probably, right? Like, I doubt it can be that bad. But what I think is probably better is if I can just flat and like they don't have that much chips left. And on the river, like if they have some bluffy hands that's like 4 overcards, they can hit a pair and pay me off. When I jam here, it feels a little kind of scared. It's like I can get the money in on the river. If they have 2 outs, they have 2 outs. Whatever, let them draw. If it's going to maximize my chances, if they're of getting paid, right? If there was a flush draw here, if there was more of a straight draw, instead of just this wheel wrap thing that I'm like blocking anyway, I'd like a raise better because when there's draws, I think just being like, hey, I'm going to raise, and first of all, you can put me on a draw and call down light, and second of all, you can have a draw and decide to gamble. Here, like, they can't have much of a draw. They could have ace 3-5, 3-5-6, whatever. Again, I'm blocking that, 3-5 even, open-ended. But, like, it's such a dry board. I think just flatting, jamming river makes more sense with the stack sizes particularly, right? And then here, this is weird. Like, this little min raise thing. Basically, I get 3-bet, or there is a 3-bet, and it goes fold. This hand I think is going to play very well against a 3-bet. It's kind of 3-bet sized, right? If I had raised the button and the big blind folds, if everybody folded to me and I make it 3 on the button, then they can make it 950. Usually I make it 350, and then they make it 11. Do they make it 11? They make it 11. It's 11. So, yeah. But anyway, I thought this is a good, easy place to call. Again, I'm flopping top set. A lot of sets. And they bet, and there's not that much left. Again, there's not that many draws, so I think this time I decide to just flat. Yeah. Okay. Turn's not a great card for, like, either my hand or my range. But my range, it's probably a little better. Like, I'm going to have some, like, 4, 5, 6, 7 type hands, I guess. Maybe, but not a ton. I'm gonna have some like 10, 9, 8, 7 type hands, 6, 7, 8, 9 hands. I might be raising the flop with a lot of those. I don't know. Maybe I'm mostly like, if I'm not raising this on the flop, what am I raising for value on the flop? So anyway, I jam rather now because I think I started the hand a little short, right? Because I hadn't rebought fast enough from another hand. So we get to the turn and they do call off my jam, I think fairly quickly. And like that didn't look like the most delightful river card, but they just had aces. And it was really only the seven or the ace that they could beat me with. So that seems like a fairly fortunate, I guess it's like a cooler. I mean, I don't think there's any other way I can play my hand pre-flop. Pre-flop, obviously, they're going to 3-bet aces. On this board, they have the gut shot. I don't know. I'm not certain how I play this hand. Like, I'm kind of more interested in how to play their hand. I guess it's less than a 4-1 SPR. They have a gut shot to go with their aces. I don't know. Aces in spots like that I find fairly tricky, and it didn't go so well for them, but that doesn't mean they made a mistake. I overlimp here. There's 280 whatever VPIP players. I feel like my hand's too weak to raise, too strong to fold. So I decided to go ahead and do this. We catch a wrap, right, and a nut flush draw blocker. I actually think I like betting this hand better because then it's easier to rep diamonds on the turn. I don't think I'm getting raised too often. They bet full pot, and I do decide to call because I've got, King Jack 10. That's 9 cards. 2 of them are diamonds. So it's really 7 outs to the nuts. Of course, those could be shared nuts if they have some of these kind of cards. So I don't love it. But the King of Diamonds, I am going to potentially be able to bluff on certain runouts. This isn't really one of them. They full pot it, and I'm just done now. Because while I had 7 outs to the nuts on the flop, now I only have 4 outs to the nuts because there's all the clubs. And I think if the diamonds do get there, I'm not going to have as much time to really apply pressure. And also, like, this isn't necessarily the character I really want to be trying to bluff anyway. If I didn't have the 7 outs to the nuts on the flop, I wouldn't have tried to possibly get that kind of bluffing spot. Here, I think, like, maybe a 3-bet sometimes, but mostly I think just very clean defense. Let's see, Queen 8, 6-5 double suited. Yeah, it actually, this is 3-bet, big blind versus small blind. Let's see, is in big blind, Queen 8, 6-5 double suited in big blind is 3-bet versus small blind RFI. We'll say 3-bet call. And basically this, and if we've got Queen 8, 7-6. So this is one of those nice kind of semi-bluff 3-bets where we get a lot of playability. We're going to be in position. We can call a 4-bet, and then we're going to be able to hit some flops that we might not hit that much otherwise. I flop an open-ended straight draw, backdoor flush draw, and it's a gut shot to the nuts on top. I just fold, which, looking at it now, like at the time against a pot-sized bet, I just thought, like, they're going to have a straight too often. They can already have 6-7, and then I'm drawing to 3 outs to win, or yeah, that's it, right? That's the only way I can have. I can't chop unless they have 6, 7, 8, and then I'm just doomed. And I have the 5, which is nice because then I also have runner boat draw. Like if an 8 or a queen comes off, then that's something. But against the full size pot bet, I just folded. I don't know. Against a smaller bet, I definitely would have called. But I don't hate this against that bet sizing specifically. But I kind of hate the fact that my hand was actually this strong. I just flatted pre, and then I end up just folding a kind of decent flop. But there are so many straights they can have already. If they have a hand like ace deuce or whatever, and I do spike the 7 though, I can maybe get paid. Really more, I'd get paid by like a 6-7 or 6-5, 6-4. So I don't think huge implied odds there. Family Jewel says, finally got PT4 set up last week. Nice. Playing Iggy on a Mac. Oh, wow. Sweet mother of God, would I like some better rakeback. Yeah, yeah, Rakeback would be nice. It would be nice. I might move to Pennsylvania just so I can get Rakeback and tons of bonuses. You get like 3K in like first deposit bonuses from like there's like a G from like WSOP.com. Poker Stars has 600. Party Poker Borgata has 600. And then I think there's going to be GG Poker, which is probably going to have at least 600. And then there's like other additional random bonuses. They're just like, here's $50, play. You don't even need to deposit anything, and I'll get like my whole family to like get the free ones and just gamble and clear it, you know. It'll be fun, but I don't know. Moving to Pennsylvania is kind of then I would have to be in Pennsylvania, and and that's kind of far. Okay, Ace 10 5-3. I think this is going to be a check. But yeah, I missed that rake back. Like, wow. It takes a bad month and it makes it mediocre, and it takes a good month and it makes it great. That's the thing about rake back, you know. It's hard to have a terrible month unless you're playing really big, right? If you're playing like micros to mid stakes, like that rake back really cushions the blow of the worst months. So I flop top two pair. I check, I guess. I think I'm going for a check raise, and then they pot it, so I just call. This hand just feels like all sorts of wrong. Now I have top three pair. I check, and they bet again, basically, I think potting it after this is accounted for. And now I check raise. They're short. If we were like really deep, I wouldn't love this as much. But I do have the three, right? So I am blocking the deuce three. Also, like deuce three, probably out of the two card connectors, it's the least played. So I'm not as concerned about it. Of course, they can have it. You know, they're a 69 VPIP, nice. That limps the button. So, you know, they can have it. But so having the three in my hand is nice. And top three pair, even if they have it, I still have 15% equity, right? So those spots where we can really minimize our downside, I think there's a lot of merit to that. We're not going to have 0% equity. All right, this one, let's see. There's a raise. I cold call. I think this is sensible. Was this a caller? This wasn't even a call. This person didn't even call. They just posted. So this makes me feel more good about this. I mean, I think button versus cutoff, this just isn't going to be super controversial. Yeah, it's just a clear call. Button versus hijack as if this person had a tighter range. This hand, I feel like this hand still wants to call because it's just going to have such good playability. It does. I'm even going to look at versus low jack, where, you know, it's not the position, it's the range, right? We don't play against positions, we play against ranges. And yeah, it's the same range of hands. So like basically Jack 10 with then 3 cards out of the 9-8-7. So we have 4 cards out of a 5 card straight. Here we have 4 cards out of a 4 card straight. We're going to flat those against basically any range. At least heads up in position. I'm going to check the squeeze though. I wonder if the squeeze is different. I bet we fold the weaker ones. Yes, we do. We would only, this is the only combo of Jack 10 single suited that we would call on the button against a low jack raise and a cold call, right? So one of the things we like about this is we can be heads up. That's not what happens. Oh, this hand. Lovely. Another thing is this player's basically all in, and I didn't comment on that and should have observed it. I think at the time I might have thought about it and thought about like, should I 3-bet or what? I don't know. But I didn't. So this player now leads half pot. And I feel like I have a very strong boat draw here, and possibly the best hand. If I am to just get it in against a hand like 5-5 or 8-8, let's briefly check equities. I think, let's see, 10 outs or 9 outs twice, basically. I'm going to have, 40-ish, somewhere in that vicinity. Against the 5s, I'm better because then I do have 10 outs twice. Like 5-5, we'll just give some random thing. Yeah, I've got 42% there. And if I give them the case 8, and then I give them like an ace, and then we'll give them 2 random side cards. That's the worst ace 8-8. And if I give them like 2 of my side cards, now it's a disaster, right? Now all of a sudden I've got 26%. So I don't think raising really has a ton of value here. Mostly I want them to have a weaker 8. I want them to be bluffing. It seems like a really weird spot to bluff with this player basically all in. So I don't think they should have too many bluffs. I'm pretty much just trying to hit my boat. and bink, I hit my boat, right? Fantastic, right? This is definitely good. Um, Wish you would have timed out. Oh, a timeout would have been so clutch here. So clutch. This was definitely a. I need to balance my timeout range with some turned boats against one outers. Anyway, spoiler alert. This person bets, and I'm like, yeah, let's get the chips in, and then I think they sat here and thought about it for a while. I wish they would have timed out. And they're thinking, and I don't know, maybe they're drinking a smoothie. Not really much left there. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll call. And okay, cool. I mean, that looks like a pretty good run out. Like the nine's nice because if they had a hand like ace eight, whatever, they definitely didn't make a bigger boat on that nine. I mean, unless they have 9-9. And the only other hand I'm losing to is 10-10, which, yeah, they had 10-10. So they hit their one outer. Fine, it happens. It looks like, ooh, do they have a straight flush draw on the flop? No, they don't. If they caught running jacks or running nines, that would have just been trips, and I would have had a boat. I would have had those full of eights. So the only way for them to win the pot was with this 10 on the turn. So let's just take a lovely look at just briefly this wonderful flop equity of, I think it's like 5%, right? Oh, 10. How do they have 10%? Really? What am I missing? Oh, is it like a straight? Yeah. Like if a 6 and a 7 come, I guess. Am I missing anything else? I don't think so, right? Um, yeah. So anyway, I guess they could have gotten a 6 and a 7. Oh, and runner hearts. They got a lot of stuff. What's up, Fat Memorite? You brought the pizza. I could use some pizza. Yeah, this was fun. Where this happened, and yeah. So anyway, yeah. I mean, and if they hadn't chosen to bluff the flop, if they just check folded, then the story would be different. But it wasn't. Sadness. I need to get better with my timeouts and try and time out when I'm going to get one outed. But what can you do? All right, 10-9 with a pair of sevens. I think this is just a clear button open. I flop a flush, and they lead into me. Oh, yeah, this one. And I don't know. Like, if we look at the SPR, it's like 5.5 to 1 when the flop comes out. So that's one thing to start with. Like, do I want to basically commit to calling it off with a flush, with a 10 high flush, specifically 10-9, where I'm blocking a 9 high flush? I don't think a person like this is betting that kind of flush that often here. I mean, there's the fact that the 4 and the 5 are on board also, as opposed to like a jack or a queen, or the ace is nice, but there's just not that many weaker flushes that really make a lot of sense. There's just not that many combos. They could have something like a set and half pot it here, I guess. I do call, and then they bet, and I think I fold now, because I was basically thinking, okay, I either want to call this or call river again. It feels to me like this is in that range of hands that we're supposed to call some number of times that probably isn't 3. It's probably a number less than 3 that we're supposed to call. But I don't know. In Solverland, maybe we are supposed to get to river, get to showdown. I had this person marked green, so I think they had been playing at the table before, and we had more players at the table. So for whatever reason, I'm not really seeing any stats here. I mean, even just from pre-flop, like we can see they cold called small blind. I think people do have a lot of suited junk kind of cold calling small blind, and maybe just fold flop. I don't know. But I kind of want to be like, okay, are you serious? They're like, yeah, I'm kind of serious. I'm like, all right, I guess that's serious enough. I don't know. That's basically the conversation we had, and they got to win the pot. So, some heads up action. This, like, I was about to try and look this up, but I have no idea. I don't have PLO vision for heads up or anything for heads up really. In terms of what percentile this is, it's got to be pretty low. It's not random. I mean, it's not rainbow. The 3, 5, 7 do connect, and the 7 and the 10 kind of barely connect. So I think this is probably like 25th percentile of hands. So it's probably a raise from the button. All right, I flopped trips again. We've had a lot of trips in this session, which is either very good or very bad. I bet $2, and they're like, yeah, okay, $2 sounds good. I feel like this is a reasonable c-bet size on a paired board. The king comes, and now they lead out, and, it's a heads-up game, so I'm thinking trips are pretty good. Like, we probably mostly want to be calling with trips, but I don't have great trips, and now that the king is there, none of my side cards are going to have me beat, like, king 7. Of course, king, I'm hopeless against. I'm thinking maybe they have some king 9 type hands, or maybe some straight draw that just hit the king. It's a weird bet size, right? Like, they're betting roughly third-ish on the turn, and that's going to leave this SPR of like 2-1, which feels kind of awkward. And now they bet again, and they pot it, and I think I should have just folded here. Like, old me would have definitely folded. Might have even folded turn, but here I feel like, I mean, I have the 10, so I am blocking bluffs that, like, if they had some straight draws. On the other hand, hands that were thinking they were bluffing can have a 9. I don't think they're doing this with the king, so I think my call is probably pretty terrible. On some level, I felt like my hand was a little under-repped, but I think we need to, like, not worry too much about that, and just, when it just feels like someone who's playing a short stack usually has it, I think they usually have it. That theme may return to haunt us later, though. Anyway, I call, and they do have the king, and the 5 and the 3, so we had very similar hands pre-flop. I smashed the flop, and then they smashed the turn. So, and they lived happily never after. All right, so there's a raise. I'm going to 3-bet ace, king 5. I'm going to double check. I mean, in this exact scenario, they min raised, so I'm not questioning my play here. I just want to kind of double check my ace, king rainbow. I'm looking up the wrong thing. We're going to look up king, and then we're going to rainbowize it. And yeah, we actually don't want to 3-bet all of our ace, king rainbow from small blind against cutoff. I'm not looking at button because I'm thinking maybe they're a little stronger because this person was in, although I think they posted, so I take that back. But we do want to do ace, king with a 5-4 or Broadway card. Those are going to be our rainbow ace, king 3-bets. And I will briefly check versus the button. I think now it'll probably be all of the ace, king. It is all. Oh no, I'm looking at single suited still. Yeah, but we're 3-betting, and it's all 3-bet fold with our rainbow kings in this spot. Kings with any ace, and kings with any pair bigger than 4s, and like king jack 10, king 10 9, and those are all rainbow, right? So those are the rainbow ones. Here, I flop a gut shot. I have a blocker to the flush draw, and I have an overpair. And the SPR is like 1 and like less than 1. So like 1 1/4 and like 3/4. So I think I just like potted it or something. I was just like, okay, do you want to put the chips in? I think this is probably okay given the SPR. This was completely an SPR based decision. I think I could like third pot it, or half pot's kind of weird here. I could bet 9, and then this person knows that if this person raises, then I can 3-bet or whatever. Although maybe I could bet 902, and then I know that they can't back, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I just try to put it in, and this person does get it in, and I do make the wheel, but they make the better than a wheel. So, yeah, they pick up diamonds and the gut shot on the turn. They flop top 2 pair, so they were actually ahead on the flop. So, I was best pre, they were best on the flop, I was best on the turn, they were best on the river. An ocean isn't going to help me. I'm drawing dead to the ocean anyway, so yeah, that was that hand. Kings with a 9-6, this feels a little loose. What do we think? Does this feel loose? Let us see. Kings, single suited with a 6-9. This is not loose at all. Single suited to the king, even 9-5 is going to raise. So I'm a little off calibration here. However, I did play the hand, so at the table, I did the right thing. Nobody does the right thing. Anyway, Born Identity. Okay. I do get cold called twice. You know, the one player's like pretty tight behind me, and the other player's been pretty aggro over, you know, limited sample size. I flop all right. I think I'm going to check this flop a lot. The stack to pot ratio is, you know, somewhere between 7 and 8 to 1, depending on which player we ask. And I do check, and then the shorty, or not shorty, the shorty, they started the hand with like 92 blinds. The short stack with only 92 blinds, or I have my big stack of 100 blinds. Oh, they are so short. It's cute. Anyway, I decided to just go ahead and check raise. And I think a smaller check raise size, what do people think about check raise sizes? I often just like match the pot button, but I think that's like technically incorrect. Here, I did feel like maybe I just want to get in the maximum on the flop, and then the turn is going to be just like a get it in no matter what happens. Although, is it? Let's see. If we take 45 from 92, they're still going to have almost 50 left. We'll have a little better than 3 to 1. Yeah, it will be. We'll be able to get it in on any turn card, I think. So, but if I make it like 33 here, then I can put a little more pressure on the turn, and I can have more bluffs in my range here. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of bluffs, but hands like Ace, Queen, 10, 9 with 2 backdoor flush draws feels like a pretty good bluff if I'm going to have one. Also like Ace, King, Queen, 10, maybe with some of that backdoor business where I'm blocking top set, stuff like that, I think are going to make some, you know, they're going to be some goodness. And I pot it. I mean, I don't pot it. I'm like, can I pot it? I want to bet more, but I don't. I bet really 42 into 103. Super easy call for their hand. They have a wrap and they get there. And spoilers. You know, I think the only two decisions in this hand, I mean, I obviously already looked up pre-flop, which seems like it was just a straightforward open raise. We can talk about like what hands we want to pair from our open raising range in a game that's maybe going to be kind of loose. This is actually a fairly tight table for Ignition. It's kind of like a bad table actually for Ignition. So on the turn, how much are they going to have? They're still going to have 13 outs, which is going to be 32.5% equity. Is that correct? It looks correct, except they have a 9. I have a 9, so it's only going to be 30% equity. Let's check it. Yeah, so they have 30% on the turn. Obviously, like even if I made a pot size bet, they would barely even want to fold. So setting up a turn bet that's going to be more uncomfortable isn't really going to be a thing that's going to be of any value. If we make the turn, a 10 of clubs, actually, they're still a favorite, but I've got 42%. Let's instead of a 10 of clubs, we make it some other 10 that does not give anyone a flush draw. Then I only have 22.5, but again, I would have been getting roughly 3 to 1. So knowing that even if the turn was like an ace, a queen, a 10, or a 9, I could just stuff it in. And sometimes I'd be getting it in like super good with kings against jacks. So I don't know. I think this hand is fine. It's just another, like, these hands are like all trips or sets or whatever. So it's kind of, I could title this one Getting Tripped Up. So yeah, I don't know. But I don't know if I'm going to make a video out of it. Maybe I should. I feel like these hands have actually been kind of interesting. All right, so I defend this. I think a 3-bet is reasonable. They've been quite tight over not a lot of hands. So, that means maybe they're just kind of like regular tight, but they're probably not really loose. I think we can agree on that. Do I 3-bet this ever? Against a low jack range, I'm thinking maybe, but probably not that much. Ace, queen, 10, deuce. No, this is just a call. Good old-fashioned call. So ace, queen, 10, deuce. Double suited is call, big blind versus what's this player? The low jack. Yeah, even if they're looser or even if they're tighter, I'm still going to be calling this combo. I think it's very hard for them to have a range that I don't want to call this. I flop, double back doors, and I check, and they bet $2, and I think I peeled here. I kind of feel like maybe this is a spot to put some pressure on them because they've been pretty tight. A reasonable chance that they have like kings, maybe aces or queens or something. They can also have junk. They can have some rundowns that smash this, but I'm going to smash this with a fair amount of my range, right? I'm going to have some rundowns. And so I think a check raise to like 6 or 7 here, and then put some pressure on the turn, and then maybe some turns, and then probably give up a lot of the time on the river. I did check call, and then I catch a queen, and then now I check fold. So like a queen wasn't kind of my top hope for this hand. I'm mostly calling the flop because they just didn't bet very much, and you know, a club, a heart, an ace or a queen or a 10, maybe, but also some, you know, if one of those cards comes and they check, then I think there's a reasonable chance I win. When they decide to bet 2/3 again here, I don't know, I could be ahead. They could have like 6, 7, 9, 10. Maybe this player raises that double suited or something. They could have like 9, 10, jack, queen and have bet a little bit with a gut shot on the flop. They can still have an 8. They can still have aces, kings, queens. So, I don't know. On the one hand, I feel like the turn fold is incongruous with the flop call because I got a apparently good card for me, but it wasn't a great card. It didn't really give me anywhere to improve beyond this, besides like trip queens, I guess. And their bet size, right? Their bet size on the flop was very small. On the turn, it was, you know, medium to large. So I end up folding. All right, kings again. More kings. And there's a raise and a cold call. And I think this is possibly actually a little bit... No, this is fine, right? This is just fine. That's what I'm going with. I'm going with fine. Big blind. We're going to look at against a cutoff raise and then a squeeze spot because this person's been a little more aggro than average. So I have the choice between putting, you know, giving them a low jack range or a cutoff range. Against a cutoff range, king, king, 9, 8. This is actually just going to be a 3-bet. So it's a 3-bet fold. So there's a nice wide, we'll bring this over. There's a wide grouping of like 3-bet hands here, right? Like a lot of king, king with a suit is going to 3-bet. And if I just contrast that to the tighter range that they can have in the low jack that I'm squeezing against, here's against the low jack. So against the low jack, very clear call. Against the cutoff, very clear 3-bet. So we'll mark this. And as I said, this player I'm going to treat more as having like a cutoff range because they've been pretty aggro. So king, king, 9, 8 single suited is a 3-bet fold from the big blind versus a cutoff squeeze spot. It's a call versus low jack squeeze spot. Okay. So that's pre-flop. I flop a set again, and I check it, and everybody checks. So I'm like, okay, this feels like, oh, this hand. Okay. So here's what we got. I've got a set, and you know they've got all the ace in their range. I don't think I'm gonna really have a leading range on this board. I think I can check raise some hands that are like, I don't know, not a lot of hands. Maybe I shouldn't even have a check raising range. I'm not sure. I have 0 nuts, right? Like, am I flatting ace here? I guess I'm flatting bad rainbow aces, right? So maybe I can have a little bit of a check raise range, and that's going to be like those bad rainbow aces for top set. Maybe king, king with some, I don't even know. I don't know if I want the draw or I don't want the draw. And because if I don't have the draw, I can get value from the draw. But if I have the draw, then I have better equity if I run into ace. And hands like queen, jack, 10 with diamonds, right? Stuff like that. King, queen, jack, 10. Anyway, the flop checks through, and it's a fairly poor turn card. So I check again. I have no 10, no jack, so I'm not blocking the nuts. I'm barely blocking spades. They bet, and it feels like a pretty easy call. I think a board pair is almost always going to be good here. I'm not really going to run into a hand like, what's it called? Like ace very often at all. So while I think I'm often behind, I think I'm almost never drawing dead, and I can be good here. And then the river's a jack, and I check because, like, what am I going to lead this? I guess in terms of bluffs, hands that I could have, like what bluffs would I have? I would need like 10-10 XX diamonds and spades. I guess. I don't know. Like where XX is not a Broadway card because then I have a straight. So it's really hard to come up with bluffs here. I check. And then they bet half pot. And it's really hard to come up with bluff catchers here too. Because, I mean, if I have tens, like what, 10-10-3-3, I guess is the best bluff catcher where I have a set and I'm double blocking the straight. I don't know. So maybe that's the hand. Maybe 10-10-3-3 is the bluff catcher in here. Let me know what you think. I find these one card straight things, I think they're very tricky. You know, we can just fold a lot, but I'm sitting here thinking like, well, what are my bluff catchers? And I didn't come around to 10-10-3-3. But besides that, I don't want to block diamonds. I do want to block the 10, but it's hard to have anything and a 10 without having the nuts. So maybe like 10-9, I guess. And that block 10-10-9. Maybe that's the bluff catcher where I don't have the straight, the Broadway. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I just thought I'm unblocking diamonds. I'm unblocking like queen. They can have ace queen maybe. But then those are just going to check back. So like, what do I want them to have? I guess maybe spades. They could have ace high spades and then turn it into a bluff on this river. I don't know. I ended up talking myself into thinking like, I don't have a lot of bluff catchers. Maybe this is a one. So I call, and I actually was ahead on the turn. They did have a nice hand. They had diamonds plus a pair plus a gut shot, and they hit their gut shot, and I paid them. So I don't know. I found it's more than like a tricky hand. It felt like a very weird spot, where my hand was probably a lot better than it was supposed to be. And I guess maybe they can bet 10-9 there even if they don't have the queen, if I'm checking. I don't know. I think these one card straight spots are just very strange, and it's hard to come up with balance. And maybe we just play totally exploitatively, just like bet when we have it, and maybe when we're like double blocking it or something and don't have it. 10-10-3-3. All right, so 6 double ace 10, although if we have the 3-3, that's more of a bluff catcher than a bluff. This seems pretty clear pre, and I flop trips again with the trips. This feels like a board to just bet. What do I bet? 3/4? And I was thinking like, do I bet 3/4? Do I bet half? I don't know. I've moved towards this kind of 3/4 bet, but they check, and I just stuff in for pot here. There's so many draws. I feel like pot has to be fine. They call, and then the river's an 8 of clubs, and they bet. And just like, I don't think I'm very often good here against a 75-17. Like, do they suddenly get like this thing where they're like, ooh, I'm going to bluff just this one time, I'm going to outplay them. Like, they had to be calling with something, right? Now, something might be king deuce, and they decide to turn that into a bluff, I guess. Something might be queen jack 10, maybe with spades, and then decide to turn that into a bluff, I guess. But mostly, I feel like they're going to have clubs, and then they're going to have some made hands that they don't want to turn into a bluff, because most people don't turn hands into bluffs. So I just folded this, and I think they showed, which was very courteous. It's always nice to get a good show. So they did flop a king, but they also had the nut flush 2 different ways, and the third nut flush as well. And a pair of 9s and a pair of jacks, which they can't play together. So that hand felt like a set that, like, I liked how I played that hand. I feel like I made a good fold. I'm happy with that hand. This next hand, this isn't the one. Okay, eventually we're going to get to a hand that I do not like. But, we've had some. Queens with a 9 and a 7. I pop it up. This is just, I think, clearly going to be a raise from the low jack. Was I contemplating doing anything else here? I doubt it. I doubt I had any other real designs on anything. Super clear raise. I think I can call a 3-bet just in general, right? Like queen 9-7, I definitely can in general. I don't see what else is going to make this anything but this. And then I flop an overpair. I flop a blocker to a pair, and I guess a 9 or a 7 can give me trips too, or trips or two pair, irrespectively. I have a backdoor flush draw and I have a backdoor straight draw, and I check, and I think they bet half pot. That feels right, and I just fold. I don't know. I marked it because am I supposed to give more action with queens here? It's very easy for them to have hands like that I am doing well against, right? Like they can have a bunch of rundown things. They can just hit a jack. So maybe this is a spot where I'm supposed to continue and I'm just being too nitty. I don't know. Let me know if you think this is too nitty of a fold. I'm going to let's play around with a little bit with the equities. If I had, all right, let's not play if I had yet. First, let's say, against just like bare aces that don't have any backdoors, I've got 36%. I immediately don't like my fold because if they just have bare aces, I've got 36% all of a sudden. Having said that, let's say they have like good aces with some kind of a thing actually. Now I've only got 24%, right? But if we look at the pot size, the stack to pot ratio, it's just 2-1. So at a 2-1 stack to pot ratio, I'm only putting in 40% of the final pot. So I only need overall 40% equity. So when we see that I'm not like super duper behind a lot of these things, let's give them like random jack. Let's give them like this. Jack, and a double suited whatever, but not suits that are going to hurt me. Right now I'm down to 18%. Okay, so I can be pretty dominated, but can I ever get like 60%? Are there hands that they're going to play this way that I'm going to have 60%? Let's give them like ace jack, maybe 9-8. That's not very good for me. Right, so actually that's a favorite against me. What are they maybe going to have? Like king queen jack 10 or something? That now we're talking, right? They can have a double suited rundown and hit the jack, and I don't know if that's really a hand that's going to do this though. Like maybe give them a 9 of hearts, something like this. Now I've got close to 60%. I don't know. I think this is a hand I'm going to post. I'm going to post this hand somewhere, and let me grab the. All right, we'll just leave this over here so that I can look at it later, right? Yeah, okay. We'll move on. Anyway, I folded that hand. So, this is the play of the hand. Bop, 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 fold. Okay, moving on. Did I mark? I'm going to market this for checking out what they had and kind of get a little bit deeper sense of like, yeah, what are people rocking in spots like these? This might be the last hand. Close on a low note. Okay, I guess spoilers for this hand. Ace, king, king, 3. There's a raise, there's calls, I 3-bet. I'm going to verify that I am squeezing basically not all of my aces, right? There's going to be, I think, some rainbow aces that I flat. Not these ones. It's like very, very few. I'll just bring it over here. So like these green little islands, king 9, king 8, with 9 deuce, 8 deuce, 6 deuce, 3 deuce, those are going to flat. So in this spot, like maybe occasionally flat, but mostly we're just going to be 3-betting. And, we'll notice that the SPR now is below, it's like 1.5 to 1, basically. Slightly higher than that, but like 1.5, 1.55 to 1 or something. I think this is just one of those spots where we're just going to get it in with our aces, right? It's not like a 3 straight board or something. This player is 23-0, so I was like, they're probably pretty tight, right? Like, they probably, if they really want to put chips in here, they're going to have a hand like Jack or 6-6 or 5-5 or whatever. I check it back. I don't like my check anymore. Now, I am spoiled by knowing how this hand ends up, right? How it turns out. So that's a problem. So in terms of analysis, this hand is maybe more one to put on a forum. And again, I will. Am I gonna pop this? Oh no. All right, whatever. We'll worry about that later. Um, so here, I think I should just say, like, yeah, I'll bet half pot and then we'll just get it in. And I didn't like that I had, like, nothing to go with it. And I didn't like that this player was so tight. Like, they're so tight. Is this person going to do anything? Polka Tuck says pot. Just, like, get it in, basically, right? Just, like, I have equity. Anything beyond that's just going to be barely any more money. It's going to be, like, if they call, like, they're not going to call, right? They're going to jam or fold. Half pot and he calls is not fun at all. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, so just basically pot and get it in. So instead what happened is I checked it back. They checked, and now I half pot, and now they jam. And so this feels like really not any fun at all, too. Now, on the one hand, I don't have to worry about a bad river, right? I'm not going to have to play any bad rivers. But they're 23-0. Like, what shots are they taking here? What hands do they have that they want to take a shot with? Are they doing this with kings? Are they doing it with kings with the flush draw? Are they doing it with queens? Or, like, ace and jack and some stuff? Like, I don't know. I felt like usually a player like this has jack. Like, I just feel like they show up with something very big very often. One counter to that is maybe that, you know, on the turn, after the flop goes check, maybe they do want to at least put in a small bet with like a boat, because they want to make sure they can get the chips in by the river against aces. Anyway, long story short, too late. I folded, which, if my read is, like, really accurate, it's probably good, right? I mean, that's probably good if my read's really accurate. It turns out my read is not very accurate at all. So the fact that they were 23-0 over 26 hands apparently was not very descriptive over the exact hands that they wanted to play pre-flop. They have 4-4-3 deuce rainbow. And, like, I don't know. Like, this is one of those hands that it can kind of, I feel like it can throw off my sort of feeling of calibration in terms of looking at it and being like, I don't understand. Like, I understand the bluff, right? Like, yeah, okay, a 4 gives them a boat, a 3 or a deuce, or a 7 give them a straight. Like, they've got some equity here, right? If we go back and we, you know, they're gonna have what is it? We don't even need to open anything. They're gonna have 6, 7, 8. They're gonna have what, like 12 outs, right? 12 outs to get there. That's gonna be like 30% equity. So even if I call, you know, they're far from dead. So I get it. You know, sometimes maybe I'm just gonna be like bluffing or something. I don't know. And if I do have, like, hearts, then they can even almost get it in good if I don't have a pair or something. But, like, the fact that a 23-0 calls this, and if we just go back to the pre-flop, they cold call a raise, and then they call a 3-bet to 19, which is, you know, that's like 20% of their stack. So they put 20% of their stack in with 4-4-3 deuce, like, rainbow. It's sort of here's what I'm trying to express. Sometimes there are hands that just, like, there was a hand where I got one outed by the 10s, right? And that's like, whatever. That's like, okay, I don't need to adjust my expectations of anything. Just like sometimes we get one outed and it's what it is. It turns out they actually had 10% equity because they had a couple back doors. And that's a very straightforward thing to kind of process and be like, oh, well, that was unpleasant, you know? It's like, you know, getting kicked in the shin or stubbing your toe or whatever and being like, oh man, that hurt, but, like, it's okay, you know, we'll be fine. Whereas, like, if you get out of bed and fall and you feel like you don't know where the floor is, I think that's a much more disorienting feeling. And so here, a hand like this, I mean, we can just go back to the flop and say, like, yeah, just pot and get it in, and you don't have to think about it anymore. And I think that's the answer. That's the real takeaway here, right? Is listen to Polka Tuck. Like, yeah, just pot it. Just pot it. If they have it, they have it. But against their whole range, this is going to be a good play to pot it. But the thing here is like looking at their hands, looking at their play, and having that kind of make it feel like, man, like, can I keep making tough folds against these players? And that, not in this spot, but there's going to be other spots, right, that aren't going to have a, well, you should have just potted the flop. Okay, cool. That's good for this hand. But for some other spots, players like this are going to do something weird. And, you know, the answer in the other one, where I had ace, ace, 5-3, and the board was like 4-4 deuce, was like actually check back flop and do the opposite and play it more passively in position. Here, maybe check back turn. Not check back turn, just pot flop, SPR and all that. But the other one was a deeper SPR, the one where I had aces and a 5 and a 3. But I think there is another takeaway, aside from this hand, how to play this hand. It's that this player, like, exists in this game. And it's the second time I've seen a player who is very tight and passive pre-flop make a wacky kind of play with these kind of small cards. So first of all, it might be the same person. This is an anonymous player pool. It might be the same person. There might be one person who's playing stats like these and making really weird plays. There's also this other person at the table who's 20/0 over 82 hands at the same table. Like, not to go all conspiracy theory here, but things like this happen. This isn't like, here's what I think happened in this hand. This is actually referring to something that I know happens in other places. I think on sites like this, it's going to be much less common, but a 20/0 is going to fold a lot, and then they're going to have a lot of information. And if there's a 23/0 who also folds a lot and has that information, like let's say this person folded a 5 and they tell this person they folded a 5 or whatever, stuff like that, it actually really changes the odds. Having another 4 cards is super useful. And that's not to say that I think in this scenario anything like that was going on, but it is something to be aware of in terms of PLO. Like, if people are sharing whole card information, it can help you pick better spots to bluff. It can help you pick better spots to get it in. For instance, if they know all the 4 cards folded were none of the cards they needed, that improves their equity, right? Their actual equity. If they know that a 5 was folded or a jack or whatever, they know that they're less likely to run into a huge hand. Or the ace of hearts or whatever, you know? So, not suggesting that's actually what's going on here, but it is kind of a thing to think about in some spots. And it's the sort of thing where, like, if I get a lot of hands like this, and this was kind of because this hand reminded me of another hand. If I go back and look at that hand, and there's also like a 22/0 or something at the table, I'm going to be a little curious, you know? And if it seems like every time somebody makes a weird play like this, something like that's going on, then I actually would have a legitimate suspicion, and that would be something I'd want to look into. So it's kind of something to keep my eye on, but more immediately, to understand that there are players like this who take shots, who play these weird small cards, and, more immediately, like, just pot the flop, just pot the flop, pot it, you got it, like, forget it, bet it and forget it, and, like, make life simpler for sure. Anyway, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. If this video ends up on YouTube, if you like it, you can like it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Hit the bell for the notifications and all that. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers.